Everybody, it's Helen.
It's Toby. How's everybody doing today? Well, we don't have anybody actually looking at us yet, but we're waiting for everyone to come on. So I'm just, it's nice to see you again, Helen. I love that
Yes,
we get out like this.
And so I'm in Oregon, Toby's in Florida, and Florida's been crazy lately. It seems like it's been crazier than usual in Florida.
Like weather-wise?
Yeah, weather-wise, it seems like your state's kind of going crazy.
Well, we are kind of hanging off at the end over there. So, we kind of we keep changing from tropical to not being tropical. So we do have some rather crazy issues with that. But I think it's like, is it time for us to start? It's time for us to start.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, everybody. How are you guys doing? It is Helen and Toby, and we are doing our boob tube. We are doing number, I think it's Lucky 15, right, Helen?
Yeah.
Lucky 15.
Hi, Christy.
Hey, Christy. We're going to have like a really awesome conversation today. I mean, we're doing something that I think is a little bit kind of out there. Don't you think, Helen?
Yeah. I think we're going to be really keeping it real like we usually do. We're going to be talking about some things that, you might not always kind of hear discussed so honestly and openly. And so we're going to be talking about sex, talk about all the party parts that go along with that in a really personal way. So
we're talking about sex and
join us.
Breastfeeding along with that. But obviously we're talking about sex. Oh my gosh. Sex after baby. Sex after baby.
Sex after baby and sex while breastfeeding. Well, maybe not while you're breastfeeding, but during the time when you're lactating.
Hold on, I got distracted when you said that.
Hi, belly to breast. That would be Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Yeah. Remember, our bodies are going through all these different changes, and breastfeeding affects our hormones, and along with that goes our sex drive and kind of, our vaginas and all of those other parts that kind of play a part in sex. Hi, Megan, Tiffany, Tanika, Catherine.
I definitely think that this is a subject that really needs to be talked about because it's kind of something that's like kind of brushed under the carpet. Everyone's worried about, time management. They're worried about breastfeeding. They're, worried about, am I having enough milk? I mean, and they kind of forget the other part of, being not just the mom, that you're also like the wife. And there's things that go along with that. And and I definitely think that it's a different perspective from the husband than it is for the mom. And I would love for us to share some stories that we've had, either that have been good ones or have been, maybe not so comfortable of ones when we're talking about sex and breastfeeding and, sex after having like a C-section or having a vaginal delivery. Because I think those are really, really important.
Yeah. I think so too. And we have to remember that sex means different things to different people. It may not just be about having an orgasm or being naked with somebody. A lot of times as partners, we miss that kind of closeness. It can mean a lot of intimacy and just that that comfortable feeling that you have when you're with someone that you trust. And, men and women sometimes assign different meanings to sex. And so we have to be really sensitive to that we want always to be a great mom and be good to ourselves. But taking care of your partner is another way to kind of keep your household happy and functioning. And a lot of times that means considering our partners.
Doggone it, we have to include them into the mix. I just don't know why. I mean, I know why, but sometimes it's like having a third child. But I want to let everyone know while we right in the beginning when we're starting that we're actually going to be giving away. We've done this many times where we've been giving away some Milky's products to people that are commenting. So make sure you guys comment. We are going to be giving away 10 winners this time. Normally it's only like anywhere from 2 to 5. So there's 10. So do a lot of comments, do a lot of shares, and we will be picking you at the end. We'll definitely be talking about the product a bit later, but we're going to be giving that away. So I just want to let you guys know before we kind of jump into. All right.
That's right.
So the first thing I want to do is I want to share a story for myself, and I would love for you moms to do that. So my first daughter was a C-section. And so I really didn't have any vagina issues with that. You know, obviously we went around all that and we went right to the stomach and just, you know, I had issues with the stomach. But when it came to sex, except for just being, you know, like tired and my boobs hurting and not wanting any involvement with that, you know, I definitely, you know, I didn't really have any problems. But my second one, you know, I had a vaginal delivery and I tore, I think a lot. I had some stitches that kind of went in there. And I did notice a huge difference when it came to sex. Obviously, I was still tired. I was still, breasts were still hurting. I still wasn't really, you know, feeling in the mood. But one thing I did notice that was different was that sex actually hurt. Not the whole time, like the initial part. You know, I started, you know, when we started having sex, the first few minutes, if I'm honest, maybe even 5 minutes of intercourse, like, you know, it kind of was not very comfortable. And then it kind of, I don't know, figured itself out and, you know, was fine. But those first several minutes was not really very pleasant. And I thought, okay, well, it's just, you know, it's only been like 8 weeks or 2 weeks, it's going to get better. And as each kind of week went by, it didn't get better. I don't know if other moms experience this. I would love to share your stories or share comments if you're feeling that way. I think I went in finally like at almost 5 months later. And I finally said something to the OBGYN. I was like, I think something's wrong. I think you grew up wrong. You did something wrong in there. You sewed me up wrong and we need to fix it. And she laughed and she's like, no, I didn't sew you up wrong. Everything's where it's supposed to be. But she said that that's actually a common occurrence, a common problem with women after vaginal delivery, especially if they've torn and had to be stitched up. And it could be up to a year. Up to a year. Right. I didn't know that. No one told me that, you know, when I went home from the hospital. No one talked about that. So I had to share that really horrific story.
And I'm so glad we're talking about it because I think probably you felt like you were the only one that there was something wrong with you because you've never heard that this was a thing that could happen. Yeah. So.
No one talked about it. I never read it anywhere. You know, I thought, and it was so funny that this is what we're talking about today because I was on duty yesterday at the fire department and we had a big brush fire and so I was doing water supply coming in and out. And one of my guys was, you know, he just recently, well, he didn't, his wife had a baby. And it's been a few months and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And he's like, oh, it's going great. You know, we start talking and I don't know if their wives realize that they share confidences with me, but they do. And he was talking at the same thing. He said, you know, I think when they stitched her up, I think they did something wrong because sex has been hurting. And I was like, oh, let me talk to you about that. This is a very common thing. It's better, but it's very common. And yeah, and here we are having a sex conversation at, you know, water supply on a fire. It's very entertaining. I'm glad we're talking about it today here because I think that's important.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important that we talk about maybe the reasons why we could have painful sex after baby. Vaginal deliveries, of course, we can have tearing. And oftentimes what then forms instead of regular tissue is a scar tissue. And scar tissue doesn't have the same elasticity. And as we know, the vagina and the outer skin of the vagina stretches a lot to accommodate that baby's head. And a lot of times during sex, the vagina has to stretch as well. And if you have scar tissue there, that's not going to have the same elasticity and can definitely cause pain. Even if you had a C-section though, you're breastfeeding, or even you're postpartum, even a few months, you can have hormonal changes that actually thin the walls of your vagina and can change the way your natural lubrication works. So some ladies, when they get kind of during foreplay, can feel a lot of wetness down there and they kind of get used to that. But during lactation and postpartum, your natural lubrication may not be working. And it's just that interplay of the oxytocin and the progesterone and the estrogen and all of those hormones that are kind of going up and down for us can make a difference in how our bodies respond to sex.
I totally was dry, and it's so funny that we're talking about that because I didn't know. Like, I think my husband almost kind of got a little bit of a complex about it. Mm-hmm. He was kind of, obviously we're doing the, we're getting in the I don't want to make some.
Oh, Clay, we're knowing all your secret. All of Clay's secret moves are going to be out there.
He's working it. He's working really hard, and and it's not really getting wet down there. Uh-huh. And I remember a lot of times where he was like, is everything okay? And it definitely caused a little bit of issues with that. So that's good to know. I think for moms, the potential you could be wetter, I guess, more. Yeah. Don't forget about that. But also you could be dry, and I think sometimes that can be a little nerve-wracking. So that's good to know.
Yeah, because sometimes that's our feedback from our body, and maybe our partner's feedback too, that things are going well and you're excited, and that well is just not putting forth any fluid. And so you may be having to buy lube for the first time, and don't let it freak you out. If you feel like you need some extra moisture down there, then go ahead and do that. And that actually brings us into the product that we're giving away today. We're giving away actually a special kind of lubricant that's just for couples that are trying to conceive.
Yeah, and it's actually called Baby Dance, and we're going to be giving that away to 10 winners, and we're going to be picking those winners via the comments. So definitely keep your comments going, everybody, and sharing your story. And definitely sharing this boob tube, because if you think it actually could help some moms out there, we would love to be able to, have that out there to help those moms. And that's what we're all about, is talking about stuff, sharing stuff, and maybe talking about stuff that no one wants to talk about. And I think that's what's great. So definitely share our boob tube so that more moms can know about us and can come find us and hang out and, talk about fun stuff and some sad stuff and about sex. And we're never going to do that. The baby dance, what I think is awesome about the baby dance is that it actually is the only lubricant that's FDA approved. So when you're talking about conceiving, the biggest problem that is out there with the lubricants is they're actually like anti-sperm. They kind of kill the sperm, and the baby dance doesn't do that. So if you're trying to conceive, or someone trying to conceive, that's what's great. That's a great product to recommend for them. But this is obviously, we're talking about moms that have already had the baby and are not trying to conceive. But that lubricant still is really good because it's pH balanced, and it's really going to help with that point that we have. But I think we should talk about the pH balance, because having a baby and the hormones can also change the pH, and that kind of does something more like to talk about.
Yeah, Toby and I were talking about this earlier, and I compared some of the smells that were coming from my body to a sweaty gym sock. And and
well, just tell us how you feel, Helen. Tell us exactly how you feel.
We're grown-ass women, right? We know what our bodies typically do and how they look and how they smell. And I tell you, after my last baby, it was really different. And doing some research on that, what I realized was the pH of our vagina really changes depending on our hormones. So again, we're breastfeeding. We've got the oxytocin, we've got the estrogen and some other hormones in there, and that can really change the environment of our vagina, which is kind of something we don't really expect, but it's really good to know.
It's an ecosystem down there. I mean, I don't know if everyone wants to know that, but it's an ecosystem. There's a very thin line of a balance. You have to have bacteria. A certain amount of bacteria is good. Correct. But as soon as you jump the line of too much bacteria, then we all have the things that we're not having a fun time with. But not having enough bacteria actually is also a problem. And, that area has to be a certain pH. And, that definitely is going to throw off things. So don't freak out, moms, if there's all of a sudden a strange scent going. According to Helen, it's sweaty gym socks. I don't know what anyone else feels like that is. I know I'm a scar tissue lady and sweaty gym socks. So. Now,
yes.
it's funny. I was doing some research and I talked to a mom the other day actually about the scar tissue and sex hurting. You know, I didn't get into this with one of the guys, but I got into it with a mom. And she was letting me know that her doctor recommended for her to go have physical therapy to help the scar tissue in her vagina. Now, I don't know about all you guys, but I want to know what that physical therapy entails.
Yeah.
Because this is vagina physical therapy. I'm sure it's internal. And I think if Magic Mike, what is his name? What is that actor's name?
Channing Tatum.
My God. Right? Channing Tatum was my therapist. I think I might be developing some scar tissue.
Yeah.
Many years later.
So you could go and see him, sure.
I would have to find out what that physical therapy. I haven't talked to her since she's gone. So I have to know, if any of you ladies have had that, please tell me what that physical therapy for scar tissue in your vagina entails. Because I might want to go. I might want to sign up.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting too is we can kind of eliminate or reduce the risk of tears during birth by doing perineal massage. Yeah. And so that's a way that we can kind of work our skin into shape and kind of get ready to stretch and accommodate the baby. And that can even reduce the risk of tearing even further.
Well, and that's something that I didn't do at all. And I want you moms to think about this, is that I had a C-section, obviously, my first one. So normally you don't do VBACs after you do a C-section. And a VBAC, for any of you that don't know what that is, that's a vaginal delivery after a C-section. They call it a C-section. Right. So, I was a scheduled C-section. So, my whole world was a little different when it came to delivering my second one, because I'm like, well, we're going to go and it's going to be scheduled. There's nothing I really need to do. So unfortunately, life happens however it likes to happen. And she kind of said, oh, whammo, I'm ready to go. We're here. There's no building up to that concept. We got to the hospital and I was already 9 centimeters dilated. And they were like, okay, we're going to go to the OR and we're going to push. And I'm like, what? No, I'm a scheduled C-section. And they're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So let's push. And so I wasn't prepared at all vaginally for doing that. So I think it's definitely something, even if you're a scheduled C-section, that maybe you should look into, dealing with that, because sometimes like this happens and a VBAC will be there and you might die.
Yes. Well, and I think that's a great point. And Fairhaven Health actually has a perineal massage gel called Baby It. So if you're getting ready to have your baby and, if you're gonna do it the old-fashioned way, or if you're scheduled for a C-section, you're not quite sure if that's gonna happen for you. You can start doing the perineal massage, use the Baby It, and then you can help get that skin prepared and you're less likely to tear. And so all those things you're talking about with the scar tissue, it's less likely to be an issue. So I had all 3 of my kids vaginally and had some tears with the first one, but after that, this was all stretched out.
It was all ready to go. You kind of knew. I was like, oh, I remember this. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it just got right back into shape. Yeah.
Well, that's what they say when you go to birthing class, and obviously as a medic, we learn about, delivering, and it's very important to ask how many babies have you had, because you may make it to the hospital and you may not. And when it's been several, the body kind of remembers, I've done this before. Oh, let me just get there quickly. And a sneeze or a cough could, hello, baby has arrived. Woo!
Right. Or your vagina can have a good memory like mine, and then you're in good shape.
Well, but I definitely think the pH factor, after having a baby is a big deal. But, and I think a lot of it has to do with our bodies have changed also as moms. Everything doesn't necessarily just, well, for some it does. But, for a lot of us, it doesn't just like you walk out and all of a sudden, woohoo, you're right back to where you were before you got pregnant.
Right.
there's a little bit of changes and some little softer areas and some squishier areas. And I know as women, myself included, we are very critical of ourselves. And we think that guys are as critical as we are, and they really aren't. They really aren't. That they actually like sometimes a little softerness. That they're all into it. It's something different. And I think we need to be less hard on ourselves. I think in the end, less hard.
Yeah, I think so too. And we had a good comment from Joyce, and she's talking about her kind of how her body is postpartum and how she's differently. And I think that a lot of moms feel that way.
They do. Their breasts are obviously hurting because there's a while, and sometimes that never goes away. And, they just feel like they're worried about, oh my gosh, if something, right there in that area going to get into his mouth and he's going to freak out. I think it definitely makes, sex after having a baby, it's new, it's different, it's a little bit of a minefield. If I'm honest, it's a little bit of a minefield. But, I think a lot of times we, as moms, again, we always want to be perfect. We want to do everything the best. And I think really we put a lot of stress on ourselves. And that's why I think it's so important that we do things like the Boob Tube and we share our stories so that moms hear other moms saying that, so they don't feel like they're alone in the world and the only one who has this problem.
Yeah, and I think some men and other partners are really intrigued by a body that is different. Your body isn't the same as before you got pregnant, and definitely when you were pregnant, your body was a lot different. And now since you've had the baby, you're breastfeeding, and there's some different changes that are happening as well. And some partners can be really excited about that. So I think it's really important to have kind of open and honest conversations about, what your partner is feeling, and just kind of lay it on the table and say, these are my anxieties about where I'm at right now, and, being a good sexual partner for you, and also being a mom for our new baby. And this is what I'm trying to balance. And I'm doing my best. I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your understanding. And then reciprocate that good listening for your partner too. So your partner can say, I'm feeling really anxious about my new role as a dad, about my role as your new, you need all this support now that you might not have needed in the past. I'm feeling anxious about that role. And how can you kind of be there for each other? I think it's really important to keep those communication lines open.
That's really big sharing on the male part. I'm not really sure if they're going to live up to your your delivery there, Helen.
Well, you give them that chance. They might surprise you.
That's true. You might have to drag all that info out of them. But, I do think it's important to really talk about your insecurities with your husband, because you think that he's going to say something about it to, or, whoever, he's going to say this about, he's going to say to you, oh, you're beautiful, you're this, you're this. And he might not, because he might not know that you need to hear those things. So I definitely think talking to them is really, really important. So I think, just knowing that navigating sex after having a baby, there's definitely some things that are new and different, and there's some weird things that, as long as you know you're not alone, I think that's a good thing. I love all these comments that moms are sharing. The most important thing is to know that you're not alone. I think that's what the Boob Tube is all about, and I can't wait for us to give away some product to all these moms that are out there. And please definitely share. This is one of our unique topics. A lot of topics that we do have are, maybe not as racy as this one, but, we know this is something that we want to talk about. And that's what Helen and I are here about, is sharing and empowering moms out there to, to have a great thing. So.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about this topic, I actually wrote a blog post on it, and that's on our blog. That's at mymilkies.com, and click on the blog button. It'll take you right there. And there's a lot of cool breastfeeding related topics there, all based on research and good info. So if you want to learn more about kind of the sex, breastfeeding, hormones, communication, dyad, that's all going on here, check out mymilkies.com, and I'll also put a link to it in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. And you also have the ability, when you go to mymilkies.com, you can actually see some of our other shows in the past. And, you know, share those as well. So loved hanging out with you guys on this Sunday. You guys have an amazing rest of the weekend, and we will talk to you again next month. So I love you that FB Live, because obviously but we're also doing if you use the FB Live when you go to our website.
So yeah, so use FB Live at fairhavenhealth.com, and you can save 10% on everything you order.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you in April.
Yeah.
Happy Easter.
Bye.